I'm Ed Rabyd, otherwise known as the Rabyd Atheist, former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Feel free to like or dislike the videos you see fit, so feel free to hit those buttons. And I would appreciate it if you would comment below and also hit your notification bell and subscribe to the channel for more content as it is released. You're free to share my videos as much as you like because this purpose of this channel is educational. In relationship to atheist issues, deconversion issues for those that have deconverted from a faith, as well as Bible and theology issues related to that deconversion or atheism. I do spend some time basically dismantling Christianity for the most part, and particularly the Gospels and things like that. Today, though, is a Friday video, which is usually done for the purpose of answering questions. I don't have a lot of questions this week. Of course, I have the big one that's the title, which is, are you really an atheist? So I'm going to go through a couple comments first, though, that were put on my last week's video. Freebird of Reason writes, good luck with your job, night shifts. People who keep going about the end times are stuck in the mud of religion, living to die. Why even worship a God who kills your family, orders stoning a family, always summons family? Christianity is a different animal depending on where you worship, depending on which denomination you constantly ended up living near, or a country would change your religion completely. Have a good day. I think you're getting at the heart of what I was trying to say about the second coming of Jesus. And this will be related to another comment in a minute. But the issue of the second coming of Jesus, to me, probably one of the cornerstones of any eschatology, that is end times event things, with any religion, is that there's an arrogance to it. We know what's coming, and this is the way it's going to be, and that's, just the way it is. And the problem with that is you have absolutely no evidence that what your future thoughts are true. I've lost track of the number of people in my lifetime that have predicted the end of the world and ended up looking like stupid idiots. And that's because you can't really do much of that. So one of the things that I have come to realize is that people hold end times events. I mean, religion checks off a lot of boxes. We want to survive death. Survival is an innate, powerful thing. And so the ultimate is to create a belief system where you survive death. But there's also another ego trip that religion allows people to take, and they'll do it in the name of being humble, but that's not really what they're being. They're being arrogant. You can be nice about it, but you can still be an arrogant ass. What I'm talking about is when you when you say, I have this religion and it is the truth, and anybody who doesn't share this religion is doomed to a hell, that's a pretty arrogant statement. And that's why, I just don't, it's one of the reasons why I left my faith, which I'll get to in a minute, is this notion of having the truth. I no longer hold to that. I don't think that. And so that's kind of just the way it. I think Freebird of Reason, you give me good hope here. But it's true. If I had been born in Saudi Arabia, I would probably be a Muslim. If I was born in, India, I'd be a Hindu. If I would, there's a good chance. It's amazing how many people just simply subscribe to the religion of the people around them. And it really is about appeasing things. As for, dying a family, I still maintain if Christianity is true and I ended up in heaven and one of my family members ended up in hell, no matter how remote, I'd be in front of the throne of God saying, hey, when are you coming back? And so what you have to say, God will wipe away all our tears. Well, what that means is you're basically saying, I'm going to submit to God's brainwashing and basically have him cause me to forget my love for these people. I think it's something that people don't really consider when they consider end times. The people that they care about, they love, being lost, per se. And that's why I think it's one of the good reasons not to believe this thing. I think this is a fear tactic, to get people to do and proselytize and things like that. Justin Baptiste writes, Dear Sir, God is real. Jesus is his son, and I'm not into religion, but the fear of hell is torment. I don't really understand all the divisions in religion. Religion has given me a confusing image of God. I don't know when Jesus is coming. I'm not God. I wish you all the best, Justin. Okay, first of all, if you're going to make the assertion that God is real, you should offer some evidence for that. And I'm going to tell you straight, every time I talk to a Christian about when they want to tell me God is real and Jesus is real, I ask them what evidence they have for that. And almost every time, it's probably 95% of the time, it's, well, the preacher told me, and I believed it. The real issue, I think, is that we have this notion that of authority. I think where we get this notion of faith is people that we trust and an authority when we're children tell us this stuff. Religion has given you a confusing image of God. I'll tell you why that is, because everybody else's image of God is different than yours, because everybody has created God in their own head, and you have done the same. You can sit there and say it's real. Well, yeah, the image that you created in your brain is real, and Jesus is his son is real to you. But that's not necessarily hard and in stone, even when you consider the Gospels. You know, it's a guesswork of whether Jesus is his son. I appreciate the comment. That's why I gave it a like. It's just, I also understand that what you're dealing with, your confusion is your doubt, and doubt is okay. Now, your faith is going to tell you that doubt isn't okay, but that's a great brainwashing job. So there's that. The last question I got is not actually from the channel. It was somebody on Facebook who saw one of my videos, and they're an old Christian friend. I've had them for as friends for a long time. I think we met on the internet. I don't think we've ever met in person. But I posted a video of the Rabyd Atheist, and they wrote the comment atheist with a question mark, and I didn't really know how to respond at the time, and I've been thinking about how to do that, and so I'm going to do that now. Yes, I'm an atheist. I really, really am an atheist. And the reason is I simply don't see any evidence to believe in anything other than what I can prove is around me. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, you only believe in your five senses, and, there's other things. Do you believe? Listen, okay, there's more than the five senses. I don't know how many there are. I remember one commenter saying there's about 10 or 12, actually, senses, like senses of motion. Motion doesn't have anything to do with the five senses. Our sense of motion is actually very different and often created by our brain and things like that. So there's other senses and sensory perceptions that we possess other than the five most common, sight, hearing, smell, taste, and feel. Okay, so there's more than that. Okay, and I could probably do a video on that all by itself, that there's more than our senses. But no, yes, I really am an atheist. And it's because I have always considered religion. I did a study many years ago, probably 8 years ago, on comparative religions. And this was part of my whole process of having doubt. And I suddenly realized every religion has its flaws. It has assertions that it makes that it can't be verified. And that's the problem with religion, and that's the problem with faith. It's why I no longer consider faith to be a virtue. In fact, I think it's the opposite of virtue. I think it's a detriment. And a lot of people get caught up in it thinking it is a virtue. But when you're saying have faith in something, you're saying that I believe in something and trust something that I cannot verify as true. That's a very dishonest position to take. If you're going to say you trust in something, that's fine for yourself. But when you say that I should also trust in it, then you need to give me evidence of why I should do so. I find that being an atheist allows me to have a very realistic view of the world around me. I'm not a pessimist. I'm not an optimist. I just look at the situation and realize if something's going to change, I can't wait for some cosmic sugar daddy to do it for me. I'm going to have to make those changes myself. And that was true when I had faith. I just thought, God is helping me or enabling me or something to that effect. And that's just not true. Yes, I'm really an atheist. I classify myself as a pagan atheist, but the only part of paganism that I take is the Nine Noble Virtues. I like the list. I believe people should have a code. It makes life a lot easier when you say, these are the virtues that I want to represent. I want to be courageous. I want to be disciplined. I want, to be hospitable to people. I want to be self-reliant. I want to persevere through life, as much as I can. I'm mostly aimed on my own happiness. And so there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being selfish. I think selfishness is simply part of the survival trait. But a good part of selfishness for human beings is being social. We're social because we've realized that as a social species, we can survive better and we can thrive better and we can be more successful and productive if we work together. As a libertarian, I believe that should be completely voluntary and never coerced. But at the same time, there's others that don't share that opinion. So you have to figure out ways to get along with them. And so this is one of those things where, when I talk about not believing in God, it's not that I don't, it's not a question of belief. My statement would be this: there is not sufficient evidence been presented to me, and I'm talking as somebody who is a 40-year Christian, a 20-year pastor, somebody who engaged in apologetics myself, and there is not sufficient evidence for me to believe, A, that there's a God, B, that Jesus is his son, that C, the Word of God is the Word of God, the Bible, quote unquote, is the Word of God. No, I don't believe any of that anymore. Yes, I'm really an atheist, and people have to understand that if you're going to make super big claims like there is a God, you better have super big evidence. And quite frankly, if it was so clear that God existed, I think the evidence would be there and it would be quite overwhelming, but it's not overwhelming. And there's tons of naturalistic explanations for a lot of things. There's a lot of explanations for purpose and, why the discussion of consciousness and everything else can get philosophical, but there's also some science behind that too. So a lot of what we do, I think, is trying to justify things. I'm not really sure where religion comes from in the whole, survival issue, other than I think it's part of our social makeup, but also it gives to us this notion that we can survive death, which can push us a little bit further. But I think it's far more honest to not realize that this is the only life I get, and I'm not going to survive death, so I might as well enjoy it. So that kind of, I hope, answers the question. Yes, I'm really atheist, and there's a lot of good explanations. And part of that, of course, is my 4 objections to Christianity, so I'll link that above my head too. This is a Friday video, but I think it'll probably drop on Saturday tomorrow because I have to have time to render it and tag it and all that stuff, and I'm just not going to have that kind of time today because I got other things I've got to do. So I'm recording this on Friday, but it'll probably be released Saturday. Once again, I want to thank everybody for stopping by. Like, subscribe, do the things that you do, share my videos. I appreciate every effort to grow this channel, which is now up to 46 subscribers, I believe. I'm still trying to get to that first 100. So any help that anybody does there, liking and subscribing and all the rest of it, and commenting, that's what gets videos noticed. So I appreciate all of that. And hopefully someday I can convince you to be a rabid atheist like myself. In the meantime, this is Rabyd, also known as the Rabid Atheist, wishing you a good day and signing off.